guys, welcome to another episode of Breaking Barriers, the mental health podcast. We are your hosts, Camila.
And I'm Lizzie. And we are so excited because today it's just the two of us.
We can make it if we try.
So we love having our guests, but we also love when it's just the two of us because, we get to explore different topics that we know come up, in our different circle of friends, in my circle of mom friends. So this is one that has actually come up a lot.
So today we're going to be talking about social media. So I think that we have grown with social media. Back in the day, I was born in 95, so I'm a millennial, where we didn't have all these tools available. There was no Facebook. There was certainly not Instagram or TikTok, not even YouTube, I want to say. And we have realized how it has become pretty much a necessity in our everyday lives. And there's a lot of things that comes with it.
Yeah, I mean, I grew up in a time where, I remember being in high school and thinking, oh my God, that girl's so pretty, or maybe I want to go and buy a similar shirt that she's wearing. But it wasn't in my face like it is every day. I feel like kids nowadays, the pressures that they must have with social media and having that in your face all the time, like, oh, I want to look like a Jenner, a Kardashian or whatever. And it's fake.
Yeah.
It's not the truth. It's not reality.
So the topics that we want to touch on is, first of all, that how we start comparing ourselves with those influencers and how that affects our self-esteem, how we start comparing ourselves, what we have, what we don't have, and then we kind of lose our sense of identity with it. But also there's good things that come with social media, which is somehow it brings people together, having those things more accessible. Like my sister, she lives in Spain. At least with social media, we can
reconnect with family.
Exactly. And either the friends that I left behind. So there's good things and bad things. So we want to touch on those things.
So actually, let's start with the positive, right? Because we recently shot an episode with an amazing influencer, Cristina Pilo, and she came out and talked about, she's a health coach and all things positivity, inspirational. Her message is amazing. And honestly, if you're listening and you're looking for someone to follow on social media, she is someone that, her message is actually amazing. And so I love how she, talks about her journey of health, and she's on her Instagram and she's promoting wellness and positivity and
she shares her life with the audience.
And she's so authentic.
The good things and the bad things, but she did discuss how that opened up a little window of people judging or giving opinions, and that not necessarily it's a good side of social media, because all the critics of people that they don't really know your life, through social media we portray what we want to show, or the highlights of our lives, which is the happy moments, the top moments. Nobody's gonna be posting when you're crying,
the
or
sad
when you're,
moments.
So people can have a different perception of what your life is, and are gonna be judging about it.
Yeah, I mean, I completely agree with you. It's all you see on social media is perfection, right? It's those happy, beautiful moments, and you rarely see, people being their authentic, true selves. And what happens is that, you have younger kids and they're looking at those things and they think that that's reality, when in fact it's not.
Yeah, that's so sad.
Yeah.
On the other note, you have so many resources. Like for me, when we want to cook something, we go to TikTok. Okay, instead of having to watch a 10-minute video, in 2 minutes you can see
how to prepare
recipe.
Chicken marsala and like that. Yeah, I love that. I love how nowadays I come home and I'm sometimes exhausted from a super long day, and I'm like, I want to learn how to make arroz con pollo.
I know.
And you can find those little videos and they're awesome.
They are.
But then I know that I tend to get really anxious myself when I see my daughter, my older one, like on her phone or whatever, and I'm thinking, has she been too long on social media? Has she been looking at her phone for too long? Because I don't want her to have exposure to things that she shouldn't be looking at. And
right,
so I think certainly for parents, it's hard to navigate that, and
And especially because it makes even bullying, there's
cyberbullying.
available, and especially with, the youngers, they don't know how to navigate their own feelings, their own process. They're still learning their own identity. And then for have someone to be commenting on how they look or what they do, what they don't look, and start comparing that with other people is just not a good place to be. Not a safe place to be.
Not a safe place to be. And you know what? For me, I want to tell the listeners, I have my parental controls on her phone, and I know, at least I think I know what she's looking at. But, certainly for other parents that might be listening right now, you want to do your due diligence and make sure to see, what is your child looking at on their phones, on their social media.
I also think that social media, it affects the way that we have to navigate relationships nowadays.
Oh my, I'm so glad that you brought that up.
Yeah, it's kind of toxic, I
Yeah.
want to say, because again, we have all of these resources, all of this information available, that it creates struggles in relationships. Que see the likes, or why are you following this person? Why are you liking this?
So that came up in lunch the other day, where it's, we're at work, and it's a group of us and we're all together, and it came up in conversation where one of the guys at the table had liked the photo of another random girl.
Okay.
And his wife says, picks up the phone, calls him right away, is like, what are you doing liking that person's picture?
Oh my God. First of all, I want to know those skills. How did she find out?
How did she find out so fast? And yeah, we were all like, and it sparked that conversation. Is that okay? Is that not okay? When does it become an issue? When does it become?
It all depends on the relationship and the dynamic that they have, the trust that they have. I don't know if at some point the trust has been broken prior in that relationship or of not.
It seems like maybe.
But there's this thing called respect. And again, each relationship, they have their own rules, their own dynamics. They will define those lines. To me, liking, not so much, but if I think or cross my mind that you're obsessed with this person, it's gonna be hey,
Well, and I should preface it with that he did like a picture of this random girl, and she was in a bikini and the whole thing. Ooh. So the wife got very upset. Ooh. And called him. I'm telling you, we were all at lunch and we see his phone ring and we're like, what?
Okay, so I want to ask the audience, do you think that is it okay to like the pictures, or would you prefer, so just enjoy whatever you're seeing, just don't like it, right? Because for me, the way that I see it, maybe liking too much is like a call for attention. Okay, I'm trying to catch this person's attention or make them notice me.
Right.
I don't know. What do you think?
I think it's very much, if you have a trusting relationship with your partner, with your spouse, and listen, and your spouse or boyfriend or whatever likes a picture, it's just that, it's just a like. But if that trust has been broken, like you said, or damaged or whatever, then that's when those insecurities come up and you're like, well, why is he liking that picture? Does he like her? Does he...
Yeah.
And those insecurities come up. And the reality is that, you have to set, like we've talked about in the past, those boundaries.
For me, I do not like anyone's picture, let's say a guy in a bikini or whatever, because it may give the wrong message to the other person, and maybe that would open up the door for that person to reach out. So I avoid any issues. So I unfollow, I restrict people that I know that they can invade my peace. I'm very careful with those things. And I think Maria Guzman on episode 2, I believe, she mentioned about how when she's hiring someone, they look at the social media.
Yeah.
So
you have to be very mindful of what you're putting out there. Definitely. You have to be mindful of what you're putting out there, because it could hurt you in the future. Going back to relationships for a second. So you're in a relationship. You're not married yet, right
I
now.
am not married, no.
Let me ask you personally. Let's assume.
Okay. Let me get ready for this.
Let's get personal. Let's assume that you're in a situation where your boyfriend is liking photos of an attractive woman.
Okay.
Okay. Where maybe he has interaction with that person.
No.
No?
Red flag. No. First, I don't look for those things. I don't look because first, I don't have the time to be bothered by those things. Second, I know myself and I would not like that. And I am lucky enough that he's not like that. I do have to say that he does follow a lot of, models, I want to say. But that was before my time.
Okay.
That was before my time. And funny enough, in the last trip that we had, I'm like, she was scrolling through something and these random girls were showing, like, oh, who's that? And then immediately unfollowed. That's a green flag for me. He's like, oh, I don't know. Like, I don't remember when I started following.
So-and-so.
There's no reason, like, so I'm blessed enough that it's a very healthy relationship and I don't have to deal with those issues. Now, in the past, social media was a big problem because every day, one of my previous relationships, he would be following girls, new girls every day. We're not talking about one, a lot, multiple likes. And that, honestly, it messed with my mind big time, big time.
Yeah.
And I think that was one of the main reasons why that relationship didn't go forward.
You bring up a really good point because it can affect. Social media has the power to impact our relationships in a negative way. Like, you were bothered by him doing those things. But on the flip side of it, like we said before, social media can really help us so much because when we look to, motivation and inspiration, and if we're going through hard times and we find, people that are putting out the right message of positivity, I mean, it can certainly help us in our own lives.
It's just another tool that is out there available, and in the right hands again, you can do either too much greatness, too good for by utilizing social media, but you can also use it for the opposite. Like everything in life is just to find that balance.
That delicate balance. So I was reading, and I know that we looked at it the other day when we were talking about social media. I was just reading that more than 3 hours per day can negatively impact your mental health if you're on social media. I don't think I'm on social media for 3 hours a day, but because I don't have the time for that.
Correct.
But I think it's something to keep in mind for our listeners. If you're on social media for more than 3 hours per day, there is a correlation there with negative mental health.
And your phone will tell you. It has like this feature that it will tell you how long you've been using, how much time in each app. I do get a little bit lost with the Reels, Instagram Reels and TikTok. I'm not gonna lie. I like
they're entertaining.
My girlies, I see this girl, she's talking about her makeup routine. She's talking about what she bought on Amazon and this aesthetic vibe. Okay, I like it. I'm like, you go, girl. Like, I want what you have. So it does give you that dopamine, that addiction. And I find myself having to set limits on it and like snap out of it.
And that's good. That's good that you set those limits because it can be very addictive.
Yes.
Very addictive. As addictive as gambling, as cigarette smoking, as everything. We start to receive all those likes and we get hooked on that. We want that positive feedback. And, it's important that we take a break and we can actually there's apps right now that you can put on your phone that will monitor how much screen time, how much time you've been on your social media.
Yeah.
And I think, having that in place, you can tell yourself, hey, in lieu of, spending 30 more minutes on social media, why don't I go outside and reconnect with nature?
Exactly. And also deleting the apps, delete the Instagram, the TikTok, the Facebook, whatever is taking the time of focusing on something else, and that way you're not having those notifications, you're not looking, you're not
It's a
fixating
social
in that.
media detox.
Exactly. And something that we've learned through all the experts that we've brought in the podcast is that surround yourself with that positivity. Make sure that whoever we are following in our social media, they're bringing us something that it makes us feel good about ourselves, that what learning is helping us go to the right direction, instead of something that is going to make us compare ourselves or being that negative mindset that we're trying so desperately to get away from.
Right. I love that. I love that you just said that. It's true. Like, follow people that are going to help you on that growth mindset.
Exactly.
And, we recently recorded with Cristina Pilo, as we mentioned before, and something that she said that really sticks for me is that she said that she blocks a certain window of time throughout the day where she's not listening or looking at social media. And I think I'm going to apply that in my own life.
Oh, yeah.
And those are tips for our audience to actually start doing in their own lives too.
Exactly. You don't have to accept, if your account is private, you don't have to accept everybody. And if people get mad just because you don't want them to be part of your privacy, that's their problem. You do you, boo.
I think this is awesome. We provided so much information for our audience, those that are parents, that are not parents, that, they feel like they're dealing with the social pressures of social media, both the negative impact, the positive impact of social media.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I hope that they can take away a little bit of the tips that we are starting to implement, deleting the social media, the apps from the phone, take a break, be more out there, interact more in person rather than through the apps, through the social medias, and try to enjoy your own individuality, your own life, and stop comparing to someone else's.
That's right. Try and be more present, right? I think I shared with you that was going to be my New Year's resolution, was trying to be more present. And so maybe that's something that you guys can start applying in your own lives. Try to make it a point to be more present with your relationships, more present in everything.
So that's it for today's episode. Make sure that you like, subscribe, and follow on our social media. We have the Instagram at Breaking Barriers, the podcast. We have the podcast available in Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube. And until next time,
Bye.